Hi everyone, I hope everyone is healthy and having a good 2021 so far. Spring is upon us here in Canada. I tried to do this impromptu a week or so ago when the flowers were in bloom. I'll just pop some video up of that because I just didn't get to everything and I had to redo it. So I'll throw some footage of that on there and some pictures of the flowers to make up for that. As promised, today's blog will be everything cars, how to get your license, what to do, what to have ready, especially when you're coming from South Africa like myself. So let's dive right into that. So first things first, you'll need to get your international driver's permit. This you can get from your nearest AA in South Africa. It's also advisable to get your driver's record while you are in South Africa. I'll put a link to the email below that you can contact to get that. Yes, that you'll have to get while you are in South Africa. It needs to be collected in Pretoria, so if you know somebody in Pretoria, they can actually collect it for you. It is a bit of a schlep to get it, but I would say it's something you should have. One of the reasons you'll need this is when you arrive in a place like Vancouver that does Carshare services such as EVO, you will need this driver's record to register with them while you are still on your international permit. It may also be needed when you do your local Canadian license to get credits for your year's experience in South Africa as proof. So jumping back to that international permit, mine was valid for 3 years on paper, but that means nothing because there's a bylaw here in BC that I completely missed, that you are supposed to switch over within 90 days of arriving in BC. So regardless of how long your permit is valid, you've got 90 days to change over and do your BC license. I didn't know this, so I was actually driving illegally for 4 months. Takes me back to my teenage years. So getting your BC license, as a South African, you have to do your knowledge test, also similar to the learners in South Africa. There's a list of countries that can just hand in their country of origin's license and receive the BC license. Unfortunately, us as South Africans do not belong on that list, so we have to redo our license when we get there. And also when you do your learners or knowledge test, they take away your South African license. They take it in, you won't see it again. So during that period, you are licenseless and you may only drive with a person 25 years or older with a local Canadian or BC license. So I would advise to strategically schedule your licenses as you are doing them, if you are a couple of course, so that there's always a legal driver within your household. So the booking for the knowledge test is done online. It's on the ICBC's website. I'll put a link in the description. Don't panic if you look at it and you see, oh my word, there's only a booking 3 months in advance or 4 months in advance and I've been here for 2 months. It is quite full, but there are often cancellations. So get ready for it. And if you feel confident to actually do it, daily go onto the site, look for cancellations or openings. There will be slots opening up as people cancel. And yeah, book something. You might need to do it the same day or the next day, but if you're prepared for it, it's really not that hard. The learning material for this knowledge test is available online on ICBC's website. If you're a person like me that enjoys using a physical book to learn from, you can go into an ICBC office and just collect one. They give it away for free. They also have mock tests on their website. There are other websites that also do mock tests. These tests are exactly like the test you will be doing on the day. It's done on a computer and it's multiple choice. They show you as you're progressing how many you have wrong, how many right. You can basically get 10 wrong. If you get 11 wrong, you'll have to try again another day. In total, there are 50 questions. So once you have your learners, you can register for your driver's test. It's the same story, it's fully booked, like a couple of months in advance, but the cancellations are even more frequent than with the knowledge test. So you definitely will get a slot. If you're confident in your driving abilities and you're ready to go do it, make a booking, get it over with. I would advise going for at least one lesson before you go for the driving test. Not because you can't drive, but there are little nuanced things that they look out for, and going for one of these lessons they would look at exactly the same criteria as the ICBC instructor would be looking at while you're trying to pass the drivers. So So it is definitely worth your while. Just pay the 50 to 100 bucks, whatever the lesson costs, and get it done with. It will be worth it. I would say getting your driver's license or the driving test is easier than in South Africa. In a way it's similar. They're also looking that you're checking your blind spot and you're not doing silly things while holding the steering wheel, although you are allowed to cross in a certain way. They just want to see that you're a safe driver, you're aware of your surroundings. It's very safety orientated, and as long as that person next to you is feeling safe and you don't break any road rules, you should be fine. As a South African, you'll definitely need to get used to stopping for pedestrians. Being from Cape Town, I'm sort of used to it. I feel in Cape Town the people tend to be more pedestrian friendly in South African terms, this is relatively speaking, compared to some of the other cities. So if you're a new driver or you have teenage kids that are doing their license, I think you can do your knowledge test at 16, and then after a year you can do your what they call a novice driver test. It will follow exactly the same process and you'll be issued, like I said, a novice driver's license. After 2 years on that license, you can do your full license. The novice license does have some restrictions as to the time you're driving. You're not allowed to use any of the smart devices in your car really, or navigation systems. I'm pretty sure people do it anyway, but according to the law, you're not allowed to. You do get credited your driving experience in South Africa. So my instance, I was credited with 17 years driving experience. I think the maximum is 10 years when it comes to insurance, and it really makes a massive difference. So to finish off the topic of licensing, when you fail, there's a cool-off period. It's the same with the learners and for your driving exam. I think the first time you fail, it's a week before you can write again. I think on the knowledge test, it might actually always just stay a week. I don't think they extend it, but for the driving test, I think it's a week cool-off period after the first time you fail. Thereafter, it's a month cool-off period, and then it gets extended to something like 2 months or 3 months. So be sure you are ready before you do it, else you'll be put on the bench for a while. So let's talk about buying a car. I actually bought a car before I had a license, or rather I leased a car before I had a license. I got a car on the Saturday. Then I saw what my insurance is going to be because I'm on an international license. It was pretty much the same as my installment. So the Tuesday I did my knowledge exam. The Thursday I went for a driving lesson. The Friday I did my driver's test. And then I was fully licensed. And I think my insurance premiums dropped by about 60%, which is quite a bit. And once my wife has her license, it will drop as well. There's always the question, buying used or new. Both has its benefits and downfall. So when you're new in Canada, like we were, you won't have a credit record until at least 6 months. I think I bought a car just before. And they sort of have this newcomer thing. In that scenario, you'll have to put down a down payment of 25%, which is quite a lot, especially if you're buying a new vehicle. So yes, financing can be difficult if you're new in Canada. It helps if you've got money available as a deposit, but our repatriation flights stole most of our money. If, like us, you're lucky enough to have a Canadian friend or family member that's willing to co-sign with you, you can actually waive this 25% down payment and make it quite a bit smaller. So we were lucky in that instance, and that is what we did. There are some great deals when it comes to buying new cars in Canada. I mean, some of the deals have 0% interest rates for the full term of the loan, and very low interest rates on lease vehicles as well. So it often makes sense buying a new car here. There are also fantastic used car options available, 3 to 5 year old vehicles, quite a bit less in cost. However, I didn't feel confident buying a used vehicle in Canada, as I do not know how the vehicles deteriorate in this country. They basically sprinkle salt on the roads during the colder months, mix that with rain, and you're basically driving through ocean water often. A lot of the cars have what they call undercoating to protect it against that. But there are different aspects to wear and tear in Canada than there might be in South Africa. So I didn't completely feel comfortable buying a used car. So something I also found here is that the cars seem to be really well spec'd compared to the models in South Africa. Things like sunroof, heated seats, heated steering, sat nav, All those things seem to be standard in a lot of the vehicles, which would often have to be like in your top spec models in South Africa. Something that the cars do not come with here when you buy them new is a service plan like you do in South Africa. And you also need to keep in mind you service your car every 6 months or 8,000 kilometers, whichever comes first. This is also quite different to what we are used to. It's not too difficult adjusting to driving a left-hand car, I would say. One of the major differences I've noticed in Vancouver is your bigger double-lane streets, they don't have dividers, or what we call them, islands, in South Africa. So you basically just have a yellow line separating the two double lanes. So the traffic does feel quite close together, and you're also allowed to make a right turn at a red traffic light. So if you get to a red traffic light, treat it like a stop street. When you are turning right, that means you're not crossing the traffic if it is clear. So that's something to get used to. Also, cars turning in front of you due to that rule. And then of course you need to fill up yourself, something we are spoiled with in South Africa. We have people doing it for us. It's simple enough. You take your credit cards, the card you wish to pay with, you insert it in the machine, enter your PIN, pick up the nozzle you want to use. It's going to be a diesel one or normal petroleum. Pick it up, select the grade fuel you will be using, like 87, 89, 91. It seems to be the options over here. You have to enter the amount you want to maximize. You can't enter the fuel amount, but the dollar amount. So you'll basically cap yourself on, say, $70, and if the car is full before then, they'll not charge you the full 70. But if you reach $70 before it's full, you'll only have to pay 70, and that's it. So once you're done filling up, you remove the nozzle, put it back, and that's it. First time I wasn't sure if I was supposed to tip myself, wash my own window. It's an interesting experience. You also pay to fill up your tires, something we are also spoiled with in South Africa. And an unfortunate thing that happened, talking about cars, we experienced our first break-in. And that was my first car break-in ever into one of my cars. So it's ironic that it would happen here. Unfortunately, they smashed my back window and caused quite a bit of damage to the door in the basement of our building. So that was unfortunate, and it is one of those opportunistic crimes that actually happen quite often in Vancouver itself. So it is advisable not to leave stuff in your car. In our instance, they just smashed the window and window of another car that had nothing in it. So it was just an opportunistic crime. Smashed it, looked for stuff. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but it happens everywhere. To finish up, I would recommend using a car share service such as EVO just to get used to driving on the road. It's a smaller car. The payment includes the insurance, the fuel, so it's an easy car just to get used to driving on the roads here. And once you feel confident with that, maybe buy your own vehicle, get your local license when you're getting close to that 3-month mark, or when you feel you are ready. So I hope you found this useful. If you did, please like it. If you think somebody might benefit from this, please share it. And if you want to see more of these videos in the future and get notified, please subscribe and hit the bell, I think, to get notified. So be safe. We'll chat again soon. Bye bye.